In this video, we're going to review our final group project to make sure you have everything you need for you and your group to finish strong this semester. Let's go over the details of the project. From time to time, this project may be revised for clarity's sake, and I'll try to announce in class any revisions. But one thing you should know is if there's anything that contradicts what I'm saying in the video or in other class videos about this project, always go with what's written in the project details within the Canvas learning management systems. This is your last group project. In this project, you're going to create a mock-up of a website, and a couple people have asked, what is a mock-up? And we'll talk about that in just a moment in this video. And you're going to create an actual website for a company. You'll have 6 weeks to finish the project. Now we're already 1 week into the project, so hopefully you've gotten a start, you met with your group, and you have some idea of what you need to do. But you have 5 more weeks to work on this, and hopefully this video will help you to strategize about how to move forward. The website you'll build is for a retailer that sells a particular product. Now you're allowed to pick the product. It could be basically anything you'd like, as long as it meets the standards of something that would be acceptable for use in the academy and something you and your team feel good about. It could be sporting goods, coffee beans, shoes, or almost anything else you'd like. The site needs to contain an original logo and color scheme. The good news is you've been working on logos and color schemes, so you know how to make that happen. Make sure that you're working on the color scheme very quickly in this process, because before you can do the other things you need to accomplish, you're going to have a color scheme in place. For this project, it's really important to stay accountable to each other. Stick with your agreed upon duties, work together, keep the lines of communication open, and reach out to me if you need any assistance. I'm here to help, but you need to, as a group, come to me so I can help move things along for you and your group. So let's talk about what's required. First of all, you should know, doing the bare minimum, the things I list in this document under the section required elements, if you just do those things, you're only going to earn an 80% on the assignment. So what does that mean? How do you earn the full 100%? Well, go beyond the requirements. Use your imagination, use your innovation, use the skills that you've acquired over this semester. Ask a lot of questions, do some research to add enhancements beyond the requirements. But let's talk about the specific requirements. First of all, you're going to need a company name. In your first week, one of your first week milestones was to come up with a company name and a general backstory. Who is this company? Now, you don't have to turn that into me. But you need to make sure everyone in your group understands it, because everyone's going to have a role that's going to be impacted by the name of the company and what the company does and the types of products the company sells. You're going to want to create an original logo. That's something you're going to want to do during week 2. Now keep in mind, before you can really make the logo happen, you need a color scheme. Now, in class this week, we reviewed color schemes. And so you know how to put that together, but make sure your group is okay with whatever the designated person who puts together a color scheme does. This should be part of the design process. Now, once you have a color scheme, it's time to then mock up, and this is what some of you had questions about. What's a mock-up? Mock up at least 3 pages. Remember, your website is going to have a total of 5 pages, but you need to create a mock-up, kind of a drawing of sorts of what the pages are going to do. You're going to make mock-ups for 3 pages. You want to make a mock-up that's going to show what the home page will look like. You're going to build a mock-up that's going to show what a product page will look like. Remember, you're a retailer selling product, so you need to have a page that would show on the pages where we sell product, where we sell the goods that we're selling to consumers, what's that page going to look like? And then kind of a generic page mock-up for any other content you need, maybe shipping information, order information, an About Us page, a history page, a terms of use page. you're going to want a mock-up, so for any other content you want on this site, you'll know generally what that page should look like. Once you have the mock-ups done, the mock-ups will allow the coder to then say, now I know what I'm trying to create, and start coding. So let's look at an example of mock-ups. On this page in front of you right now, you will see a picture of something called a mock-up. And then there's other pictures to the left and right of it. This shows the general process of design that happens in most website development. At some point, someone's making a really crude sketch. That's the one on the far left. It's a low-fidelity wireframe. Now, when you take a wireframe and you add some meat to it, add some content, then you come up with a high-fidelity wireframe. The next thing you build is something called a mock-up. And that gives a general look and feel. How is this thing supposed to look? Again, a coder probably shouldn't be doing much coding until they get information from the creator of the mock-up saying this is what it's going to look like, or this is what it should look like. Without that, how does the coder know what to create? Now, often in the design process, we'll go one step further before we actually build the final website. We'll build a prototype that's actually coded, but it's not necessarily fully functional. For this project, we're going to simplify this process of going from a low fidelity wireframe to a high fidelity wireframe to a mock-up to a prototype. And we're just going to say your team needs to have a mock-up, and you're going to provide that as part of your submission. What did you draw? What did you design that you gave to your coding team? And your coding team will use that to try to get toward the final project. Now, is the final project always going to look just like the mock-up? No. Very often, a mock-up will be given to a coding team, and there'll be decisions made saying, well, that's not practical. We want to do more. We want to do less. So it doesn't have to have an end product, an end website that looks just like the mock-up, but the mock-up should be your guide for what you're trying to create. Then you're going to start the coding. Once the mock-ups are done, you're going to code and you're going to build 5 pages because 5 pages are required for the assignment. There's going to be a home page. Then a news and information page. Just some general details about the company, what's going on with the company. An order and shipping page. What happens when you order? Does it ship today? Does it ship tomorrow? Is it going to be 2 weeks? Do we charge you shipping? Do you get free shipping? And then you're going to build 2 product pages. Remember, you'll know what products you sell, so you should build 2 products that show those pages. Now, all these pages should be interconnected with easy-to-use, consistent navigation. Keep in mind, a great place to start would be to use Bootstrap navigation. They have some great navigation tools that can help give you a consistent look across all these pages. When you submit, you should end up with 3 folders. Now, the document that you see on the screen right now says 2, but I'm going to enhance that in just a moment. There's going to be an art folder, and that's where you're going to put copies of your mock-ups and maybe any logo designs as you are creating them. Then there's going to be a site folder, and that is going to be where all of your code is going to be when I look at the actual site once you turn it in. So when I look at your home page, I'm going to look at it in the site folder. All your other content from the website should be within that site folder. Then the third folder will be a participation folder, and that's where your participation document, the PDF that you export after everyone in your group has documented what they contributed and what they thought about the project. There's a whole section in this project that talks about the participation document. This is very similar to what you've done in past group projects. But be sure to read it over and make sure your team is fully on board and understands what needs to be done with that document. And that everyone will be ready before the due date, because remember, this is due at the end of the semester. There can't be an extension because we'll be at the end of the semester. Advanced planning and working toward trying to get it done early may be very worth your while. Then on the final submission, you're going to submit a zip file similar to what you've been doing all semester. Someone in your group should be in charge of organizing that and testing it. Now, remember, as you divide up the projects in the group, just because you say Joe is in charge of HTML and Mary is in charge of styles, cascading style sheets, that does not mean that those are the only two people that should be looking at that code. Everybody has a responsibility for the code. That means the coder must, through their process of coding, be sharing the code out to the group so they can look at it, and everyone else should be looking at it and providing feedback. Yes, there can be one or maybe two or maybe even three people that are in charge of actually coding, but everyone should have their eyes on the code. Same is true with things like the color selection. Same is true with things like the logo creation. There might be one person who's charged with doing that, but everyone should have input. So no matter what your job, you should be sharing with the rest of the group. No matter what your job, you should be giving input on things that the rest of your group is doing. Now, we've talked about the timeline in class. We're in week 2 now. Last week in class, we said the things you should do is come up with a company name, a little bit of a backstory, and assign roles. Now that we're in week 2, we should be starting on things like the logo. Now, you can't actually do the logo until you have a color scheme. So you're going to want to build that color scheme out. Then someone or a group of people in the group should start making a general mock-up. We think this is what the pages should look like. Again, let me go back to this picture right here. Okay, this third from the left, the third image on this screen right now is an example of what a mock-up may look like. Now yours will look different. This is a mock-up for a email login. I'm sorry, for a website login. Your mock-ups will look different. You're going to need a mock-up for, again, a home page. You're going to need a mock-up for a product page. Now, if you notice on these particular mock-ups, they show the site the way it would look on a phone. You can do that, but I would suggest that the mock-up you probably are going to create, again, for simplicity, to get you used to this process, will probably be a mock-up of how it will look on a desktop machine or a notebook. So make sure you're working on those things for this week. You can get feedback on the logo that you create and the color scheme from the rest of your team. If you need my help, be sure to talk with me. Now, there's a lot more here. There's the week 3, 4, 5, and 6 milestones. Remember, there's nothing specific you need to turn into me for any of these weeks, but if you're feeling behind in any way compared to what's outlined in the milestones, you really need to be contacting me so I can help you and your group get back on track. I hope this has been helpful. Please let me know if there's anything else I can do. Send me an email to my official Academy address, and I'll be happy to work with you and help your group so you can finish strong on this final semester project.